11 seats. The Congress high 155, just over halfway, so it's going back and forth around the halfway mark, up 36 since last time. BJP still at 67, only one up since last time. Janata Dal trailing quite far behind at the moment. Again, no results in from UP or Bihar. That's why you see this low score for the Janata Dal, down 46. Telugu Desam 9. We'll see how much more it picks up in the second round of counting. AIDMK 8 and others 26. The breakup of others is CPM 7, the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha 4, CPI 3, the Bahujan Samaj Party 1, making a total of others 26. And if we look at the leading, just to get a sort of broader picture, we have leadings on 438 out of 511 seats. The Congress has got 201 out of 438. There you can see it slipping behind the halfway mark, which is likely to be its ultimate position. The BJP just one short of a century. The Janata Dal 41, but down 66, but picking up a bit now. CPM 31, up one since last time at this stage. The Telugu Desam 11, that's up 10. And others 55. And the breakup of others, the AIDMK 11, CPI 10, the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha 5, RSP 3, Independence 1, BSP 1, making a total of others of 55.
पूरे भारत के 511 लोकसभा निर्वाचन क्षेत्रों में से 283 चुनाव परिणाम घोषित किए जा चुके हैं। इनमें से कांग्रेस ने 155 स्थानों पर जीत हासिल की है और उसे 36 स्थान का फायदा है अभी तक। भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने 67 स्थानों पर जीत हासिल की और 1 स्थान का फायदा है। जनता दल ने 18 स्थानों पर जीत हासिल की है, 46 स्थान का नुकसान है उसे। तेलुगु देशम पार्टी ने 9 स्थानों पर विजय हासिल की और 8 स्थान का फायदा है। अन्ना डीएमके ने 8 स्थान पर विजय प्राप्त की है, किसी भी स्थान का फायदा या नुकसान नहीं है। और अन्य 26 स्थानों पर विजय प्राप्त की है और 1 स्थान का फायदा है। और एक नजर पूरे भारत में रुझान पर, लीडिंग्स पर, 511 सीटों में से 438 की जो सूचना हमारे पास है उसके मुताबिक कांग्रेस 201 स्थानों पर आगे है, भारतीय जनता पार्टी 99 स्थानों पर आगे है, जनता दल 41 स्थानों पर आगे है, कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी मार्क्सिस्ट 31 स्थानों पर आगे है, तेलुगु देशम 11 स्थानों पर आगे है और अन्य 55 स्थानों पर आगे है।
Vinod, let's go quickly across before we grill the panelists. Let's go quickly across to Bhopal, where Mr. Vajpayee is waiting. I think he's either winning or won both his seats to Hemant Kumar in Bhopal.
भोपाल से मैं हेमंत कुमार बोल रहा हूं। मेरे साथ इस समय भारतीय जनता पार्टी के दिग्गज श्री अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी हैं। अटल जी, आपकी पार्टी को उत्तर प्रदेश में शायद बहुमत मिल जाएगा और आपकी वहां सरकार भी बन जाएगी। हालांकि दूसरे स्टेट्स में आपकी पार्टी को कुछ नुकसान भी हुआ है, जैसे मध्य प्रदेश में। अगर राम का नाम ही आपकी पार्टी को जिता पाता तो बाकी स्टेट्स में भी आपको काफी अच्छे वोट्स मिलते, अच्छी सीटें मिलती। क्या इस बार राम का नाम आपके लिए सत्य नहीं हो पाया?
हम केवल अयोध्या में मंदिर के पुनर्निर्माण के सवाल पर चुनाव नहीं लड़े थे। निस्संदेह वो चुनाव का एक महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दा था, लेकिन और भी मुद्दों पर हमने लोगों का समर्थन मांगा था। उदाहरण के लिए देश की एकता और अखंडता का सवाल, विदेशी कर्ज में डूबता हुआ ये देश, कानून और व्यवस्था की बिगड़ती हुई स्थिति। राम मंदिर तो एक प्रतीक है उस विकृत राजनीति का जो पिछले 40-42 साल से देश में चल रही है। उत्तर प्रदेश में अयोध्या के मामले को लेकर मुलायम सिंह सरकार ने जो निर्मम अत्याचार किया, अयोध्या में जो नरसंहार हुआ, मानवीय अधिकारों का जिस तरह से उल्लंघन किया गया, जिस तरह से कार सेवक घरों से खींचकर मारे गए, उसके कारण जनता में रोष पैदा हुआ और उसका लोगों ने प्रकटीकरण किया है भाजपा के पक्ष में भारी मतदान से।
ये जो इलेक्शन हो रहे हैं ये अडवाणी जी के रथ यात्रा और भारतीय जनता पार्टी की वजह से मेनली हुए हैं, तो आपकी इस पार्टी को इस इलेक्शन में क्या फायदा हुआ?
हम तो इलेक्शन नहीं चाहते थे। हमने वीपी सिंह सरकार के सामने बहुत छोटी सी शर्त रखी थी कि अडवाणी जी को अयोध्या जाने दिया जाए और जहां कांग्रेस के जमाने में मंदिर का शिलान्यास हो गया था वहां से आगे कार सेवा करने दी जाए। यदि सरकार इसकी इजाजत दे देती तो हम समर्थन वापस नहीं लेते। अयोध्या जी अगर कोई चला जाता तो आसमान टूट जाता, ये मानने के लिए हम तैयार नहीं है। मुझे भी अयोध्या जाने से रोका गया था, क्यों रोका गया मैं अभी तक नहीं जानता, लेकिन शायद वीपी सिंह और उनके साथियों ने मन बना लिया था कि मंडल और मस्जिद को मिलाकर वो एक ऐसा समीकरण खड़ा करेंगे जो उन्हें अपने बल पर सत्ता के सिंहासन तक पहुंचा देगा, और उन्होंने संकट को और बढ़ाया, हमने नहीं बढ़ाया।
वाजपेयी जी, ऐसा लगता था किसी टाइम पे कि आपकी पार्टी ने शायद आपकी एडवाइस को अनसुनी कर दिया हो, क्योंकि आप पार्टी में एक सॉफ्ट लर्नर जैसे माने जाते थे, और एक अग्रेसिव कैंपेन जो राम मंदिर को लेकर शुरू हुआ उसमें आपको कई जगह अनसुना सा कर दिया गया।
मैं तो ऐसा नहीं समझता। भारतीय जनता पार्टी एक लोकतांत्रिक पार्टी है, जब तक निर्णय नहीं होते तब तक सब तरह के विचार प्रकट किए जाते हैं। पूरे अभियान के दौरान हम इस बात पर बल देते रहे कि बाबरी मस्जिद को तोड़ने का हमारा कोई इरादा नहीं है, जबकि मुलायम सिंह लगातार ये गलत प्रचार करते रहे कि 30 अक्टूबर का आंदोलन मस्जिद को तोड़ने के लिए है। इस चुनाव में भी श्री वीपी सिंह ने यह प्रचार किया कि उन्होंने मस्जिद को बचाने के लिए अपनी सरकार को गिरा लिया, लेकिन मस्जिद को तोड़ने का किसी का इरादा नहीं था।
लेकिन अटल जी, एक मंदिर को हटाना और उसको तोड़ने में क्या फर्क नजर आता है?
बहुत फर्क है। अभी आंध्र में समुद्र तट के किनारे क्षतिग्रस्त होने वाले मंदिर को समूचा उठाकर दूसरी जगह रख दिया गया है, मंदिर टूटा नहीं है। मुस्लिम देशों में मस्जिदें हटाई जा रही हैं,
लेकिन वो इलेक्शन जीतने के लिए तो नहीं किया गया था।
इलेक्शन तो बाद में आया। हम तो चाहते थे कि सरकार बनने के बाद ही अयोध्या का मामला हल हो जाता। क्यों नहीं श्री वीपी सिंह ने हल किया? विश्व हिंदू परिषद ने उन्हें 4 महीने दिए थे, 10 महीने बीत गए। उन्होंने 2 कमेटियां बनाई जिनकी बैठकें नहीं हुई, वो मामले को टालना चाहते थे।
काफी पार्टियों का मानना है कि आपकी पार्टी सांप्रदायिकता को बढ़ावा देती है और भड़कीली को भड़काती है, आपका क्या मानना है?
हमारे विरोधी ऐसी बातें करते हैं। हम तो चाहते हैं सांप्रदायिकता के सवाल पर इस देश में खुली बहस हो। क्या मिजोरम में ईसाई सरकार के नाम पर वोट मांगना सांप्रदायिकता नहीं है? क्या केरल में मुस्लिम लीग के साथ गठबंधन करना और सरकार बनाना सांप्रदायिकता नहीं है? क्या चुनाव के लिए किसी इमाम के दरवाजे पर खड़े होकर उसके फतवे और फैसले का इंतजार करना सांप्रदायिकता नहीं है? इस देश में एक तरह की सांप्रदायिकता को बढ़ावा देकर आप दूसरे तरह की सांप्रदायिकता से नहीं लड़ सकते। सांप्रदायिकता को नापने के 1 गज होना चाहिए, अलग अलग गज नहीं हो सकते।
अटल जी, चलते चलते प्रधानमंत्री के पद की दूरी अब आपसे कितने दिन, महीने या साल है?
हमने इस बार लंबी छलांग लगाने की कोशिश की थी, हम सफल नहीं हुए, लेकिन हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि देश में स्थायी सरकार बनेगी और 5 साल चलेगी। जहां तक प्रधानमंत्री के पद का सवाल है, कोई भी प्रधानमंत्री के पद पर बैठे, अगर वो देश का कल्याण करता है तो हम उसके साथ सहयोग करने को तैयार हैं।
धन्यवाद अटल जी। मैं हेमंत कुमार अब आपको वापस दिल्ली लिए चलता हूं।
Thank you, Hemant.
Mr. Vajpayee maintains that it wasn't only the temple reconstruction at Ayodhya which was the only issue. It was unity and integrity of India also, and Ram temple construction was only symbolic of their desire to bring about changes in the distortions which have crept into our polity, and Ayodhya was a case of state repression. Therefore, people have voted BJP to express their solidarity with BJP. And he says, we did not want election. We only wanted Sri Advani ji to be allowed to proceed to Ayodhya and continue the construction work started in 1989. But Mr. VP Singh's government wanted to promote a combination of Mandal and Mandir in order to reap electoral benefits. And Mr. Vajpayee maintains that he was never sidelined in the party. Theirs is a democratic party, and every member has the right to express his opinion, and they never said that they wanted to pull down the mosque. They only wanted to shift the mosque, as has happened in the case of a temple in Andhra, and as has happened in the case of many mosques in Islamic countries. And Mr. Vajpayee really came down heavily on various forms of communalism, and he believes and he agrees that this time they couldn't get the central government, but whoever gets the central government now and whoever works for the sake of the country, they are willing to extend constructive cooperation for that.
Vinod, if I can take this opportunity to introduce our panelists. We have Mr. Yashwant Sinha, who is the finance minister at the moment. and Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, a former finance minister, and perhaps a future finance minister. What's the
I don't know.
You don't know? Right, sir. We'll be talking to you about other things besides the economy, but I'd like to start with the economy, Mr. Sinha. Basically, the election, the results, the campaigning is slowly going into history now, and we are trying to look ahead and think about the country and the kind of problems that we are facing. And there's no better person that knows about the inside details of the financial problems that India is in right now. So can we just stand back a minute and look at this overall result of a hung parliament, a possible coalition, and I want to ask you whether it's possible for a coalition government to take the kind of tough decisions that you know have to be taken really almost immediately.
Well, my first reaction to your question is that it is not really the nature of the government which will decide whether the government is capable of taking tough decisions or not. It is the courage, the wisdom, the foresight of the leadership of that government which will determine this. But I'd like to tell you this for sure, that whichever formation comes into power is in for taking a lot of such hard, courageous decisions.
Give me one or two examples of the really immediate tough stance that the government will have to take.
Well, you know, you said I will have a lot of inside information, but I'll, for the time being, confine myself to what is outside information.
Yes.
And everyone knows that the country is facing a grave crisis. Various people have described it variously. It is, whether it's an economic crisis or it's a fiscal crisis, the point remains that we are in a grim situation, and this grim situation will have to be met. There are certain options which are available to us as a nation, and we'll have to decide which are the options for which we want to settle. One of the options which has been mentioned, which has been tried, is the option of going again for the for a loan from the International Monetary Fund. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. The negotiations will be tough. The conditionalities will be tough.
We're going to the IMF this time with very different, on a very different footing. We're not quite as strong as we were before when we took the IMF loan last time. They're going to impose tougher conditions, which we really have not much choice but to accept.
There are two changes to my mind in the situation which prevailed in 1981. One is that in 1981, when we went to the IMF, we were far more comfortable and far less desperate than we are today.
Yes.
And the second is that the international scenario has also undergone a drastic change in the meanwhile.
Yes, exactly.
And these are the things which will determine.
I do sense a kind of almost relief that you may not have to take these tough decisions. Of course, you may have to. I don't know what the eventual outcome will be, but I'm sure you'll be called upon by whoever the next finance minister is to give a lot of advice, because you've been in the hot seat for a long time now. Mr. Mukherjee, are you going to take the IMF loan? Do you think it's inevitable?
Firstly, I would not like to, I would not mind of taking IMF loan, as we already took IMF loan, and I do not consider IMF is pariah to us, because India is one of the founder member of the International Monetary Organization and other multilateral international organizations which were set up immediate after the Second World War. Until today, of our shareholding, India gets one member elected to the Board of Governors.
But there will be conditions attached to any IMF loan. Now let's talk about those for a minute. For example, they will almost certainly insist on a reduction in the level of subsidies, which are very, very high right now, because they want to reduce the budget deficit. Now, reduction of subsidies basically, straight for the average man like me, means an increase in prices, and probably in food prices, which really will hurt the poorest sections. Are you going to be able to implement something like that?
Firstly, I would like to point out that they will of course recommend structural adjustments, and of that structural adjustments will include reduction of fiscal deficit, not merely budgetary deficit. And in order to reduce your fiscal deficits, you will have to reduce your expenditure drastically. But my question is different. I would like to put the question in a different perception. Even if we forget for the time being necessity of going to IMF, the distortion which has taken place in our fiscal systems have to be corrected. A country cannot live with this type of distortion where to meet your normal revenue expenditure, you are to borrow. After all, borrowed money has its cost. Therefore, the type of structural adjustments which will be recommended by the International Monetary Fund are necessary to put the economy on rail and to remove the distortions which have crept in. So, to my mind, of course, the details of the conditionalities will depend on what type of loan you have, what would be the quantum, what would be the maturity period, all these details have to be worked out.
Is it a slightly nervous congressai that comes into the finance ministry's post?
No question of nervousness. In our developmental process, we had to face this type of crisis many times. For instance, in the early 70s when the first oil shock came,
yes,
we had to overcome that problem.
But you were a much stronger government there, you were in a clear majority. Let's have a look at what we think now with the Assam results coming in, what the latest projections of the next 10th Lok Sabha is going to be. As far as we are concerned, at the moment it looks as though the projections of the 10th well, let's have a look at the Assam results at the moment. These are the leadings we've got in Assam in 7 out of 14 seats. The Congress has got 3 of these, that's up 3 since last time. The BJP is leading one, that's an inroad that they are making in the far east of the country. The AJP is 1 and the CPM is 1. Others 1 as well. Now, if we look into the projection, what does this mean for the 10th Lok Sabha? Yesterday we were talking about results without Assam. Basically, it sort of looks at the Congress side around 215. Now, that can be further adjusted a little bit because of the Andhra Pradesh results, which we have had no indication of. Round 2 voting is only going to be counted today. So 215 still way short of the halfway mark, and with the Congress plus allies still short, and left front about 50-60, NF again we say it about same as before, and BJP up to about 115 seats, somewhere around there. That's what the next Lok Sabha looks like. So it's going to be a conglomerate, a kind of coalition, and not the kind of government that we've had to take earlier. When we had earlier to take tough decisions, we've had a solid majority and much easier. Here it's a government that doesn't know when the next election is going to be, so it'll have to keep one eye on the electorate all the time.
आसाम के 14 लोकसभा चुनाव क्षेत्रों से हमारे पास 7 की जो सूचना है उसके मुताबिक कांग्रेस आए 3 स्थान पर आगे है और 3 स्थान का फायदा है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी 1 स्थान पर आगे है, एजीपी 1 स्थान पर आगे है, कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी मार्क्सिस्ट 1 स्थान पर आगे है और अन्य 1 स्थान पर आगे हैं। और इस कार्यक्रम की जो प्रोजेक्शन है, जो तस्वीर हम लोग देख पा रहे हैं इस कार्यक्रम में, वो इस प्रकार है कि कांग्रेस आई को 215 सीट मिलेगी, वाम मोर्चा को 50 से 60 के बीच सीट मिलेगी, राष्ट्रीय मोर्चा को 80 के करीब सीट मिलेंगी और भारतीय जनता पार्टी को 115 के करीब सीट मिलेगी। इससे पहले तो यू प्रोसीड, आई वुड लाइक टू गिव अ लिटिल हिंदी रीकैप ऑफ व्हाट मिस्टर सिन्हा एंड मिस्टर प्रणब मुखर्जी हैव सेड। श्री सिन्हा का ये मानना है कि हिम्मत, सूझबूझ और दूरदृष्टि से ही कड़े फैसले लेने होंगे, क्योंकि जो माली हालत है वो ठीक नहीं है। कुछ सख्त और अलोकप्रिय फैसले भी, अनपॉपुलर डिसीजन भी लेने होंगे। संकट समय है, इसमें कोई शक नहीं, आर्थिक संकट है। कुछ रास्ते सामने खुले हैं। एक रास्ता है IMF से कर्ज लेना, लेकिन इतनी आसानी से कर्ज भी नहीं मिल सकता, शर्तें बहुत सख्त होगी इस दफे। पिछली दफे कर्ज लेते वक्त हिंदुस्तान अपनी जगह पर मजबूत था, इस दफे उतना मजबूत नहीं है। श्री प्रणब मुखर्जी का यह मानना है कि वो IMF से कर्जा लेने में कोई बुराई नहीं मानते। आखिरकार IMF के संस्थापकों में से भारत भी एक है। सब्सिडीज को कम करना होगा और डेफिसिट कम करने के लिए खर्चे कम करने होंगे, अंदरूनी घर के खर्चे कम करने होंगे। और अगर कर्ज का मुद्दा भूल भी जाए तो आर्थिक ढांचे में जो खामियां हैं उन्हें दूर करना बहुत जरूरी है। इसलिए महत्वपूर्ण काम ये होगा कि ढांचे की खामियां दूर की जाए। श्री मुखर्जी मानते हैं कि थोड़े नर्वस हैं इस दफे, लेकिन उतने नर्वस नहीं।
Well, Vinod, let's look at the kind of figures that are causing problems in the inflation and the money supply front. It's kind of figures that the IMF frowns upon and insists on pretty tough decisions to control these kind of factors. Let's look at the prices and money supply. Now, inflation, according to consumer prices at the moment, is about 14%, around 12% according to wholesale price index. So it's in double digits and rising, and it's been a good monsoon, in fact 3 consecutive good monsoons, so there's really no agricultural reason for that. That's a basic economic problem. And we have money supply growth, that's an indication of the problem, an underlying growth of around about 19% right now, and that's the kind of figures and the trends that the IMF will certainly frown upon and want you to hold back on. If you control money supply, of course, you go into a whole deal of a whole sequence of subsidiary problems like recession, etc. Now, on foreign exchange reserves, we look at probably the biggest immediate problem. We're talking about June 89 at about 6,500 crores, in June 90 about 5,800 crores, and in June 91 about 2,500 crores. I think the sale of gold now will bring that up to about 3,000 crores, but that's still a pretty bad situation in terms of foreign exchange reserves. Hardly covers a few months of imports.
I would like to understand all this and explain to the viewers. महंगाई जो है वो 14% बढ़ी है. Is it an increase in inflation by 14%?
Beg your pardon?
Increase in inflation.
Inflation rate is at the moment 14%.
14%.
Prices are rising at 14%.
14%
Double digit.
हाँ, महंगाई बढ़ रही है. उसके अलावा धन की जो आमद है, जो इनफ्लो है, वो 19% बढ़ रहा है. यानी धन की, मुद्रा की कीमत जो है वो कम हो रही है. विदेशी मुद्रा के जो भंडार हैं सन 89 में 6,500 करोड़ थे, जून सन 90 में 5,800 करोड़ थे और जून 91 में इस साल 2,500 करोड़.
Before I take this up with the panel, actually, I'd like to go across to Tamil Nadu, where Jennifer Arul is waiting with Cho Ramaswamy and N. Ram.
Ramaswamy and N. Ram here with us. Cho, what do you think? How do you think a coalition government will cope with the hard issues before the country?
I don't think there will be any problem, because even a single party government in our country functions like a coalition, because there are groups and groups within every party. And number two, see, all parties now have to pull on together, otherwise there would be another election, and the people are already fed up with elections. So our MPs, I don't think, would do anything which would make the country go for another election immediately. So I think they will pull on together, manage to pull on together. And I don't see any particular difficulty for a coalition functioning as successfully as the previous governments have did, because great standards have not been set.
Ram, what about you? What do you think?
There is no choice in the matter. You need a coalition, because no formation has got a majority or is likely to get it. The other thing is, it is a good thing. Let us not see the idea of a coalition government in negative terms. We need a coalition. We desperately need a coalition. And indeed, the first issue is forming that coalition.
But Ram, how will they deal with things like rising prices?
Yes, I think there's the economic mess to take care of, inflation, not just that, the balance of payments crisis, the external debt crisis, the order of $80 billion. We need a budget or a vote on account before long, before June the 30th. But my first priority is not that. My first priority is, once you form that coalition government, you need to enact a law. Our parliament needs to enact a law at the earliest point to illegalize any attempt to alter the status quo relating to places of worship, by which I mean Ayodhya. I think you need to do it as the top priority in the new period, because you have to freeze the status quo, and most of the parties, barring the BJP, have committed themselves to this demand. That's the first item. The second item, in my opinion, would be to get Punjab right. The situation there, so far as elections are concerned, is precarious, is alarming, notwithstanding the Chandrasekhar government's very dubious initiatives with respect to holding this. And I must also here criticize, in all fairness, the Chief Election Commissioner, Mr. Seshan. I think we are on a pretty bad wicket so far as the Punjab election is concerned. But you can't decide on such matters unilaterally. You need to have a broad consultation to get it right. This is a very, very disturbing situation we have. Then would come things like getting center-state relations right. Because in this election, you're going to have a very pluralistic, very diverse outcome at the center, and also with respect to state governments. And nothing but federalism will work in the Indian system. We've got it wrong. We have to get it right this time. These are some of the major issues, along with the serious economic concerns that you referred to.
I differ with Ram on these, some of these things. If I remember right, he said the first priority should be the tackling of the Ayodhya issue and freezing it as it is. I would say that the first priority of any government now would be to contain violence and separatism, the demand for secession that is emanating from various parts of the country, and to curb violence. For that, a very determined Prime Minister and a government is required, and all parties and all sensible opinion in India should support any move, tough moves to tackle this situation. I would again defer on his accusing Session, because I think the Punjab elections were not Session's choice. It was forced on him, I think. And thirdly, I think it was federalism. I think in the present context in which the country is placed, there should be no talk of federalism and state autonomy now, because in my opinion, that would only lead to disintegration in the coming years. So now I don't think there need be any constitutional changes, and thank God no party is in a position to force such things on a country now. There cannot be these constitutional changes now, because all of them are anyway not going to cooperate, and so there are going to be no such constitutional amendments which will land this country in such a situation.
Excuse me, Cho and Ram, I do have to interrupt as I have to hand back over to Pranay Delhi. Thank you for being with us. From Madras, back to you in New Delhi.
Thank you.
श्री चो रामास्वामी का ये मानना है कि हालात बिल्कुल ठीक हैं, कोई इतने घबराने की बात नहीं है, क्योंकि एक दल की सरकार भी मिली-जुली सरकार की तरह होती है हमारे देश में, क्योंकि एक दल में भी कई छोटे-छोटे गुट होते हैं, तो कोई मुश्किल नहीं होगी इस दफे, और जो संकट सामने है उस पर काबू पाया जा सकता है। श्री एन राम का ये मानना है कि और कोई रास्ता नहीं है, साझा सरकार बनानी पड़ेगी, और साझा सरकार अपने आप में कोई बुरी बात नहीं होती है। और श्री राम की प्राथमिकता ये है कि एक ऐसा कानून बनाया जाए जो धार्मिक स्थलों को जो जैसे हैं वैसे ही रहने दिया जाए, उनको छेड़ा ना जाए। पंजाब की स्थिति को बेहतर बनाना दूसरी प्राथमिकता है श्री एन राम के लिए। उनका कहना है कि श्री चंद्रशेखर सरकार और श्री टी.एन. शेषन ने पंजाब में चुनाव करवाने का जो फैसला किया है उसका पूरी तरह से स्वागत नहीं किया जा सकता, और राष्ट्र राज्य से, नेशन स्टेट से हम लोग फेडरल सिस्टम की तरफ, संघ राज्य की तरफ बढ़े, यही हिंदुस्तान के लिए अच्छा होगा। श्री चो रामास्वामी उनसे सहमत बिल्कुल नहीं है। उनका ये कहना है कि प्राथमिकता होगी हिंसा और अलगाववाद को रोकना, किसी किस्म के कोई संवैधानिक परिवर्तन, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल चेंजेस ना हो। जो भी अलग अलग क्षेत्रों में ज्यादा ऑटोनॉमी की, ज्यादा स्वतंत्रता की बात करता है, वो इस बात को न्योता दे रहा है कि ये देश बिखर जाए, लिहाजा कोई फेडरल सिस्टम नहीं, जो जैसा है वैसे ठीक है। और श्री शेषन को पंजाब में चुनाव के लिए दोषी नहीं ठहराया जा सकता, क्योंकि वो तो सरकार का फैसला मान रहे हैं और स्टेट ऑटोनॉमी नहीं, वरना ये देश बिखर जाएगा। प्रणव।
Mr. Sinha, I'd like to put a proposition to you. In Madras, they were talking about a major problem being separatism and fragmentation, people wanting to pull away. If I put to you that this is also partially linked to the economic situation, if we stand back and look at the Indian economy, it seems to have lost direction. People don't seem to see it growing very fast relative to countries around us. There's a slight loss of hope. There's a slight feeling that we're running into so much problems. They don't want to be part of the system. If they get away, they think they can do better. If the Indian economy, on the other hand, had hope, it was moving forward, it was bursting, it was a new bubbling market that everybody could share in, it would be a more cohesive factor in the country's separatist tendencies. So overall, this basic malaise that all of us seem to be facing, that India's economy, whether it's got short-term problems, that's one thing, but in the long term, it doesn't seem to give us much hope. How do you change that basic long-term attitude?
Well, I wouldn't say that it doesn't give hope in the long term. It was that kind of hope and, I suppose, confidence which prompted the government of the day to adopt certain policies in the mid-80s. Now, you know, a modern economy is a very complicated thing, and you have to look at various aspects in order to make sure that one step somewhere does not lead to a distortion elsewhere. And I think in the kind of policies which were followed, it led to growth. You know, it's well known that we broke out of the Hindu rate of growth of around 2.5%.
Yes.
Throughout the 7th plan, it was 5.5%, which was very good. But in the process, as you've just shown on the television screen, money supply increased at a very fast pace, faster than what the economy could sustain. And the fiscal imbalances in terms of a net gap between the expenditure of the government and the income of the government came in. Now, these imbalances, these distortions were not taken care of in time, and that's the reason why we are facing the kind of problem that we are facing today. Now, it's quite true that behind every political upheaval or unrest, there are often economic causes, even if we don't believe in the Marxian theory. And you are quite right in saying that if we settle the economic issues, to a very large extent the political issues could be taken care of. And if there is a lot of dynamics in economics and there is a lot of activity, then everyone will be busy. They will not have much time for the kind of things in which they are indulging today. So the economy has to forge ahead.
Yes.
And what exactly has to be done is something which the new government will have to decide. I think the prescriptions are there. It's a question, as I said, of the courage to be able to take those decisions.
Mr. Mukherjee, there are two views on this. One is that we got into a mess because of too much planning. We need a much more market economy. This is a complex setup. You can't really dictate individual decisions from Delhi. The other view is that we got into this mess because we've liberalized. There's too little planning. What we need is to go back to a much more planned, rigorous input-output system that will really allocate resources much more efficiently. In which direction will the Congress Eye, and you in particular, lean?
You are trying to compartmentalize these two, but there cannot be any watertight compartment in the sense. The strategy of development which we adopted from the first plan in the early 50s, it paid dividend. Though we had slow growth rate, as Mr. Sinha has very correctly pointed out, from the first plan till the beginning of the sixth plan, our annual growth rate in GDP was 3.5%, which was popularly known as Hindu growth rate.
Yes.
In the 80s, we entered into a higher growth rate of 5.5% at the annual average rate. Even in industry, we have made a real breakthrough in the sense that for the major part of the 80s, we had more than 8.5% growth. And one qualitative change you noticed in the Indian economy, particularly it was manifested in the drought year of 87-88, that Indian industry to some extent is delinked from its dependence on agriculture. That's why, because of the unprecedented drought, industrial growth was not retarded as it was evidenced in earlier drought years. To my mind, the projection which is normally being made that India is a hopeless case or it is a basket case is not so. There are certain very positive plus points so far Indian economy is concerned: higher growth rate, technological competence, and the process of liberalization which was initiated from the 1980s.
But in the sense, this perception is a very real problem, because we have a perception by Standard & Poor and Moody's that have reduced our credit rating worldwide, and that affects the kind of loans you can take, the kind of interest rates you can take those loans at. So in fact, a perception is something which you'll have to face if you want to change that, because it's affecting our everyday life.
I'm just coming to that. To some extent, to my mind, it is not because of the bad health of the economy, but bad health of the polity, because the government failed to take the corrective measures which were needed when the new government, particularly the National Front government, came to power.
Well,
for instance,
let's not attribute blame here. I think this
no,
is
I'm not passing on any blame. Yes. So far the foreign exchange crisis is concerned, it is a continuing problem for any developing economy, including India. If I remember correctly, in the whole 70s and 80s, only twice we had a small surplus on our international trade account. In 76-77, it was around 68 crores of rupees. Otherwise, we are having a deficit on trade account continuously. So, if the corrective actions were taken at the initial stage, the problem would not have reached to such a dimension where your credit rating goes down, where you appear to be a basket case.
Mr. Mukherjee, sorry for interrupting. I think we have a link with Bombay which is waiting for us. If we don't go to Bombay right now, we'll lose our link. We'll go to Bombay and come back to you.
But I hope I will get some time.
Yes, oh, certainly, sir.
We have with us Mr. Ramakrishna Bajaj, industrialist. Mr. Bajaj, there is no clear majority at the moment. So how would you react to this particular scenario as an industrialist?
As it is, our country is passing through difficult economic period. We are going through a crisis. No, actually, we are going through emergency. The new government will have to take very drastic, very bold, but unpleasant decisions as soon as possible.
But can really coalition governments take hard decisions?
It has to, if it has to survive. We have to fight against poverty, unemployment, high prices, black money, corruption, and frustration among the people and violence because of that. As you rightly said, it does not seem that one party will come into power, but then two major parties are coming clearly in the scene, Congress I and BJP. I think that in an emergency, we must forget our political differences and come together. Why can't there be a coalition if it is necessary between Congress and BJP, forgetting all the differences?
Indian industries have long been protected. Don't you think there should be a free and fair economy?
Indian industry and even the economists have come to the conclusion that there is no other choice but free enterprise and liberalization. And I'm very happy that this is for the first time even the Congress party has not used the word socialism in their manifesto. And I find that even in BJP manifesto and Congress manifesto.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bajaj. We are running short of time. On that note, this is HP Mulithara returning you to Delhi.
Please continue now.
What I was trying to point out that it is not a basket case, and yes, balance of payment problem is there. After the first oil crisis we had it, but we could overcome by going for heavy doses of import substitution on food. Therefore, India today is more or less self-sufficient on food production, and we are not to depend on import. Similarly, in the early 80s, when the second oil crisis came, we had to tackle the problem by going for import substitution on the petroleum production.
Yes.
Let me complete my argument. Therefore, this is a continuing problem. Government of the day will have to take note of the prevailing situation and take certain corrective measures. Even in regard to the fiscal distortion or money supply, to control the prices, sometimes we allow money supply to go because we require resources for development, but when we find that it goes beyond manageable limit, immediately we take the corrective measures. For instance, in 1980 when we came to power,
I want you to answer one of the points.
Just 1 minute, let me complete. For 1980 when we came to power, the annual rate of inflation was 21.6%. But in 1982-83 we could reduce it to 2.5%.
Yes, but it was 21.6% because of a severe drought. So I think let's not go back too much into history, because I think the point that our finance minister made just now, Mr. Yashwant Sinha, is very important, and if you could react to that in the 60s and 70s we could amble along at 3.5%, because relative to our neighbors internationally it wasn't so serious. But there has been such a major change internationally now that we see China growing at 9-10%, we see the new industrialized countries zooming ahead. You travel to Southeast Asia and you get the impression that India is being left behind. So we can't obviously talk about old prescriptions. What kind of new directions, what kind of new thinking do you think needs to be injected into the Indian economy?
What I was trying to point out, that's why the process of liberalization we started from the 80s, and it was given a new thrust in the 85s. Those who are complaining about the liberalization and trying to point out that because of the liberalization we have landed ourselves to difficulties, I do not agree with them. To my view, we shall have to continue this process, and in the process we shall have to face some teething problems like the problems which we are facing for the short term. But if we continue the process, we will be able to overcome it.
Fine.
We can go across to Trivandrum, I think.
Yes, we've got Professor K. N. Raj there.
Professor K. N. Raj is waiting for us there.
I have with me Dr. K. N. Raj, member of the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister of India. Dr. Raj, picking up from Delhi, what do you think would be the new kind of direction to be given to the Indian economy?
Well, I think some major changes will have to be made in the character and scope of planning itself. But in the more immediate future, what we have to take care of are the very severe deficits, both in the government budget and the balance of payments.
In case the leftist parties decide to join the Congress side and form a government, what kind of difference would that make in the country's economic policy?
Well, from my general knowledge of what the leftist parties have been saying, I would say that they would have to leave behind some of their ideological baggage and be much more realistic if they really want to make an effective contribution to the solution of these problems.
Can you reflect a bit on the conditions being imposed by the IMF or said to be imposed?
Well, we have an enormous budget deficit now. We have to cut down the size of the deficit. That would require cutting the subsidies. You know, we have subsidies on an enormous scale in India. But when it comes to cutting down, someone or other will start shrieking. And those in government cannot afford to be too sensitive to these cries.
So you mean to say that you don't mind the conditions?
I do not know all the conditions, but insofar as I know the major conditions, I think they are the things which we ought to be doing in any case.
Thank you, Dr. Raj. with that we take you back to Delhi.
जो बड़ा सवाल इस वक्त जिस पर चर्चा हो रही है वो ये है कि भारत को खर्चे बहुत है भारत में, लेकिन आमदनी के जरिए नहीं है। एक ये है कि एक कर्जा और ले लिया जाए, कर्ज लेने के लिए जो शर्तें होगी उनको माना जाए ना माना जाए। जो विचार उभर रहा है श्री यशवंत सिन्हा, श्री प्रणब मुखर्जी, डॉक्टर के.एन. राज और श्री आर.के. बजाज से जो बात हुई वो ये है कि जो वामपंथी दल है अगर वो सरकार बनाने में सहयोग देते हैं तो उनके अपनी विचारधारा का बोरिया बिस्तर थोड़ा सा पीछे छोड़कर आना होगा। विचारधारा का पूरा बोरिया बिस्तर लेकर हम इस देश में इतना धन पैदा नहीं कर सकते, इतनी मनी पैदा नहीं कर सकते जिससे देश की समस्याएं कम हो। और अब जल्दी से हम भारतीय जनता पार्टी के मुख्यालय पर जाएंगे और फिर वापस हम अपने पैनल पर आते हैं।
Although the Congress and the BJP, the main rivals this time, are very wide apart politically, there is a great deal of commonality in their economic thinking. Both are in favor of liberalization and removal of unnecessary controls and liberalization. But so is not the case with the Congress and the Communists. This is a hung parliament, and if the Congress seeks the support of the left, they'll probably